Hello, and welcome to Ending Physician Overwhelm. I'm your host, Dr. Megan Mello. I'm a family and obesity medicine physician, as well as a certified life coach for physicians. In this podcast, we talk about how the learned habits of people-pleasing, perfectionism, and a lack of boundaries show up in our lives and how they contribute to burnout, exhaustion, and overwhelm. The healthcare system is broken, my friends, but let's not wait for it to be fixed in order to feel better. All right, tell me the truth. Are you overdue to have a visit with your doctor for just a regular checkup? I know that is more common than any of us would like to admit. And how do I know? I actually take care of a very large number of physicians in my practice, which is a total privilege. And many of them come to me and they say, I haven't actually had a primary care doctor in a few years. I've been prescribing my own thyroid medicine. All kinds of stories, all kinds of excuses. I get it. And today I'm going to talk through things that I would tell you if I was your doctor. And I want you to listen through the lens, actually, of yourself as a resident. I also have a large number of residents in my practice, and I really like to have heart-to-heart conversations with them about the things they're going to be able to do someday that they won't think they will be able to do because no one's going to hand them the permission, right? When you are a resident, when you are a student, when you are a fellow, there is so much that is out of your control. And we forget that when we take on our attending roles. Now, I know it's not perfect. I know that we don't all feel like we have enough control or autonomy or any of the things that we could want, but sometimes it's because we're not actually seeing the opportunities. Sometimes we are not making decisions that we could make in order to have more of the things. So I want us to listen without judgment, and I want you to question as you hear each one, ooh, is that me? Because I think a lot of these are going to resonate. All right. So number one, you're not getting enough sleep. Now ask me how I know that one. We were really good at tolerating sleep deprivation. I remember how much of a shock that was when I was a first-year student, and I think I had an opportunity to do an overnight shift in the ER and just observe. And it was so hard. Now, I was the one who didn't pull any all-nighters. I think I had an all-night party graduating high school because, I don't know, that's the thing they did. But we got really used to being awake for a very long period of time and rinse and repeat. When we come out as attendings, it's true that we may not have perfect control over things that interrupt our sleep, right? We may have call shifts. We may have, maybe we're the only surgeon who is available for whatever particular kind of subspecialty surgery that you do. Perhaps you have young children, right? There are many things that contribute to sleep deprivation, but there are also more opportunities than you think where you are not prioritizing your sleep. I say that with love to say that all of us need to go to bed more often than we do, right? We need to get off our phones. We need to pay attention to substances that might be interfering with our sleep. We need to give ourselves the luxury of sleeping more. All right. Now, number two, you're probably not getting enough protein and probably not enough fiber. Now, the protein thing is complicated. And if you paid attention to anything on social media right now, you'd think that all of us were protein deficient the way they're pumping it into all these processed foods. That's not what I'm talking about. But what I am talking about is making sure that you're getting good nutrition. And that includes getting protein with your meals so that you feel full and satisfied and that you have the energy that lasts longer than the goldfish crackers that you grabbed out of the break room. But also, we need to eat more fiber-rich foods. There are a million reasons why that's true. It's healthy for your metabolism, your gut microbiome, which influences your mood and your hormones, right? So many areas. I'm going to give you some simple numbers. We could argue up and down whether or not they are the only numbers to follow, but I want you to think about trying to get 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. And I want you to think about getting at least 25 grams of fiber from real food that naturally contains fiber, right? If you need to take the psyllium husk in order to have a bowel movement, you do you. But I want you to eat fiber-rich real foods, right? If we are eating protein and more fiber, right, we are going to be fueling ourselves properly for the things that we need to do. Number 3, you're overdoing it on caffeine, maybe on alcohol, maybe on scrolling your phone, maybe on the goldfish crackers. A lot of doctors fall into habits of compulsive use of something. And sometimes it's a more benign substance, right? Like, donuts in the break room. But sometimes, of course, it is a more, toxic, poisonous substance like alcohol. It's very easy to fall into bad habits as we are trying to cope with difficult days, with stress, trying to unwind, trying to numb, trying to dissociate, right? These are just real patterns that any human can fall into, but I think we're especially prone to doing so. And if you find yourself kind of compulsively using something like that, any of these things, right, there are definite downsides to it. Sometimes we're going to need some help in order to break out of those cycles. Sometimes we need to focus a little bit of attention on it and work on a plan, right? Because hoping that we're not going to pull out our phone, hoping that we're not going to run to, grab the pint of ice cream or, pour another glass of wine, hoping is not a strategy, right? But again, most of us are overdoing it on something, and many of us could use a little bit of help. Number 4, your mental health matters just as much, maybe more, than your physical health. It matters that you are taking care of your mental health, including being around people that you care about and making sure that you are getting real connection with those humans. It matters to get some sunshine and some time outside, right? Forest bathing is a real practice, which is just spending time in the woods because it's good for us. It's important that we are feeling safe, right? As we have more and more awareness of the impacts of trauma, big T trauma and little t trauma, some of us are carrying around a real lack of safety. And it's important that we address that in order to have better emotional health and well-being, better resilience overall. Not because you need to be a more resilient human, to do a better job as a physician. I'm arguing against that, but because you deserve to feel more resilient as a person, as a human. I think I just double said that, but we aren't trying to gamify your productivity as a physician by helping you to be more resilient. Resilience is important to our survival and well-being as people. So we need to pay more attention to our mental health. Number 5, you need to move more daily. Now, if you are a runner, this may not be true with you, and you might be overdoing it because running is this weird compulsion for a lot of people. That's me inserting my judgment right there. But all of us know runners who need to run, who really get upset when they can't run for some reason. I'm joking a little bit here, but for many of us need to spend more time moving our bodies. That can be as simple as going for a walk. It, of course, can be a fun, intense exercise class. It could be going on bike rides, right? It could be playing with your kids. But all of us would benefit from moving more because we spend so much time stuck at desks, stuck in the OR, maybe stuck in traffic, maybe stuck in all those meetings. We need to find ways to move our body. We will feel better if we do. Number 6, no one can make these things a priority if you won't. Now that sounds harsh, but the lived reality is that you are such a highly capable, amazing problem solver who is expert in her field, who wants to help people, who people turn to and rely on in so many different ways. But if you aren't making your sleep, your nutrition, your movement, your mental health a priority, no one actually can do that for you. Even if someone is telling you, you really ought to rest, you really ought to stop and take a break and have something to eat. If you won't actually do it, it's not happening and you are not taking good care of the body that you are in. This is a real tension point, right? Because sometimes we do have people who are trying to support us. We might have a partner at home, we might have kids, we might have a parent or some other caring adult in our lives. We might have staff, right? Who all see how hard we're working and are doing their best to try and help us have some kind of a break or take care of ourselves in some way. And we refuse to do it because we have it stuck on our brain that we have to finish this task first, or something is not good enough, or, how could we possibly stop and take a break when there are 10 more charts or 3 more patients or whatever. We have to make taking care of ourselves a priority. Much of the time, there may not be any of those other humans who are paying any attention to any parts of your health and well-being, right? That is a common lived experience as well. And if you don't choose to do it, then no one is noticing that those things are not happening. But either way, your human self is not getting the sleep, nourishment, movement, probably water that they need and deserve for optimal function, right? Just optional function as a human, right? You have to have water, you have to have food and sleep and safety. We have to have those things, but we have to allow them and to choose to make them a priority for ourselves. Number 7, what you do is hard and you deserve rest. You deserve rest mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. So many of us push ourselves so hard. We're always trying to learn more. We're always trying to help more. We're always trying to be responsible and solve problems for people or, help out in some way. There needs to be downtime. We talk about this, right? But we need to have rest in our day. We need to have rest in our week. We need to have longer periods of rest in our months and years, right? We need to take all of the vacation that we are allotted, right? When we are sick, we need to take that time off. We need to not rush back as soon as possible after we have a kid, right? We need to take more rest. It doesn't matter that there are people that need you. It's true, there always will be. But again, just like everything else that we've talked about, it is critical that we choose to take rest. And that includes rest from the high degree of responsibility that we carry all the time. Number 8, Botox and online shopping aren't really self-care. Many of us might think that indulging in some kind of cosmetic procedure, uh, such as the Botox that everybody loves or the fillers, or spending hours trolling online looking for, I don't know, whatever it is that we're shopping for, is self care. But it is not. It might serve a purpose. It might still be something that you choose to do or that you care about, but that is not the same as engaging with something that is fun, that brings you some delight or some connection or some joy or helps your health in some way or has you feel more rested. When was the last time that you felt more rested after online shopping, right? Never. It's important, right, that you figure out what are the actual self-care activities where I actually feel more calm, rested, regulated, happy, joyful, fulfilled, right? What are those things? Do you enjoy playing soccer with friends or board games? Do you like going for a walk with a friend or sitting and having coffee, right? What are those things? How can we do them, right? Let's not mistake these things that we might choose to do, right? I'm not judging the Botox, right? But that is not the same as doing something that really rejuvenates you. Okay? Not the same thing. Again, do it if you want to, but that is not the self care that you need. Number 9, stress is toxic to our health, right? Stress affects our mental health and increases depression and anxiety. Stress will increase substance use and compulsive substance use. Increased stress levels can increase the risk for cancers and autoimmune disease, right? As well as premature aging. It is important that you pay attention to not only the things that are contributing to your stress, but also the things that can counteract it, right? We are all of us exposed to oxidizing substances in the world. And that's why taking antioxidants can be helpful, right? When we're eating colorful fruits and vegetables, for example, that is helping to soak up some of the oxidative damage. The same way, right? All of us have stress in our normal human day-to-day lives, but we have particular stresses that we face as healthcare workers, right? As people who are taking care of the health and well-being, sometimes in critical life and death situations of the vulnerable humans who are in front of us, right? And need our help. That is a stressful position to be in, no matter what your area of medicine is. And you need to find healthy ways to counteract that. Now, we already hit on some of the things that you might be doing that you might think are counteracting it, right? That glass of wine in the evening. Again, the Botox, the online shopping, right? The doom scrolling. We might think that we're helping our stress by doing those things, but usually those things are ultimately increasing our stress, right? If you're turning to 2 or 3 glasses of wine every night and then regretting that choice in the morning for whatever reason, you don't like the way that you feel, you don't like that you can't meet your health goals because you're over drinking, or you just don't like that you're constantly choosing that and feeling not in control, right? That is increasing your stress. Even in the moment, it might feel like it's reducing our stress, right? Sometimes too, right? If we really dialed ourselves back from our day-to-day situation, right? We might be able to see that we are continuing to make a choice in our careers that is dramatically increasing the amount of stress that we carry, right? If you are in a job, talking about a job here, not necessarily a career, right? Those things are different. If we are in a job where we don't feel like we are respected, where we don't feel like we have any autonomy, where we don't feel like we are able to have good dialogue with the people around us and help to make good decisions for the people that we're caring for, right? There are lots of folks who are in toxic work environments that goes beyond the normal sort of dysfunction of the healthcare system. If we are staying in that for whatever reasons we are, right, then we are steeped in so much stress all the time, right? There's not enough antioxidant stress reducers, right, to clean that up. Those are hard decisions to make, but sometimes we're going to need to leave a toxic job, to do some healing, right? And figure out, how do I help myself through stresses? Because none of us are going to face a stress-free time. Even if you quit your job and never walked back into medicine, right? You still will have stress. And all of us could use a pep talk, a lesson, right? Some guidance on, how do I help to better counteract the stressors that I face? And do I need to look at my overall situation and figure out a different way to do things? This is not always easy work, right? It's not always easy to make these big decisions when you need to make a big decision. But it's also not always that easy to look at the way that you're living and figure out that, a lot of the choices I'm making that I don't really think of as choices, they just seem very automatic. These habits, these patterns that I fall into are really increasing my overall stress on top of all the stress that I would naturally have. We need to be more proactively counterbalancing. And I say we 100% here. We need to be more proactively counterbalancing the stressors that we face in order to take care of ourselves, in order to take care of the humans around us that we love who are in our regular day-to-day life, and in order to take good care of the patients that we serve. We deserve it, and everyone else around there deserves it too, right? What can you do to more actively cultivate reducing your stress levels? For some, that might be as simple as picking up a meditation practice, right? Something that you actively just cultivate stillness and restfulness in order to help settle your nervous system, right? Sometimes it's going to need to be more intensive. You know, we might need therapy to work through some of the things. We might need coaching to help figure out how to change some habits. We might need to make a big decision like leaving a job or getting couples therapy, right? Or something. But we need to see it as part of our responsibility in taking care of ourselves to pay attention to the stress and figure out, how am I going to counterbalance that? Number 10, you were never meant to do all of this alone. Imagine me as your doctor sitting across from you and saying, you were never meant to do all of this alone. I bet you'd believe me. When we think about all that we carry, when we think about the work that we do, the people that we love and support at home, whatever's going on in the world, which, again, this year has been a real doozy thus far. We often carry with us this idea that I should be able to manage all of this on my own with a smile, right? With very little sleep, with very little good nutrition, right? It's not true. It's not true. When the healthcare system was designed in all the little piecemeal ways, right? It was designed for generally a white male physician who had a nurse, like an RN nurse, had on-site help and support, probably from social work, probably from pharmacy, right? A whole coordinated team where everybody had their role, right? And I'm sure that there are still some places where all of that exists, but medicine is no longer just done by a white male physician running a team who has full support from a partner at home who is off raising the kids and doing all the household stuff, right? That is not the lived reality. And yet the system would love for that to be true. But here we are. Most of you are women. Most of you are women physicians. Many of you are parents. Many of you have aging parents, right? And here you are carrying all this load, thinking, what's wrong with me that I can't manage this better? That I can't be training for a marathon and having these 3 little kiddos at home and working full time and I don't have a medical assistant anymore and add, right? We were never meant to do this all on our own. It's not reasonable to think that we should be able to do it on our own, even if we wanted to. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with the healthcare system, right? And again, the wild card year of 2026, who knows? But what I can tell you is that all of us, can do a better job if we choose to of asking for help, paying for help, and accepting help. And those are all different things, right? It's uncomfortable sometimes to ask people for help. That is true whether you are asking people in your life to help you out, right? For a favor or to take responsibility for something, right? Especially if you've been the dependable one. I know many of us struggle to give our kids increasing responsibilities because we have that mom guilt thing, right? Of being the working mom who does miss the things, isn't available for pickup all the time. All of those kinds of concerns, right? But asking for help is generally hard, right? It is hard for us to be vulnerable enough to ask for help much of the time. We've also been trained to not think that we should need any help, right? That's not helping us either. Many of us struggle with the idea of paying for help. Again, there's many reasons why that's true. I'm grateful that I only had to take on $100,000 of student loans, and I'm grateful that those have been paid off for a good long time. Many of us come out with significantly more debt at a time when we might be trying to buy a house, right? The money issues are real, right? And the pay disparity across medicine in general is real, and the gender pay disparity remains real. And you probably have the ability to pay someone to help you to do some of the things that we've already talked about, right? Someone to help you, perhaps, personal trainer, right? To help you develop an effective exercise plan that you love. Perhaps you need someone to help you, work on your habits, right? You need to hire a coach. Perhaps you need someone to do the grocery shopping or clean your house, right? And you've struggled to think about paying somebody, even if you are in a low paid specialty, I guarantee you make more than you would pay someone per hour to clean your house, right? So the money drama is real, and yet we probably can and should pay more people to do more things. And the third part is accepting the help, right? When people offer to help you, saying yes, allowing them to do it, figuring out where can I reframe my expectations, right? I know that we all like to do things a certain way. We all think that there's a lot of things that should be done one way. Loading the dishwasher comes to mind, right? But there are many different ways that many people could help us. And most of those things are not truly very important. Now, I love my mom. She listens to the podcast. I don't always agree with her when she puts dishes in my dishwasher. That's okay. That's okay. Because she didn't agree with the way that I used to load her dishwasher. It is okay. Because it doesn't really matter all that much. And most of the things that we're talking about here are not that important. It is okay for someone to do it a different way, but you have to allow it. Now, if you are in the OR, if you are developing a treatment plan, right, there may be indeed a right way to do things. That's okay, right? You know what those things are. But there are many other things that we could dial it down on and accept the help. All right, my friends, I'm going to read one last time through the 10 things that I would tell you if I was your doctor. Number 1, you're not getting enough sleep. Number 2, you need more protein and more fiber in your diet. Number 3, you're overdoing it on caffeine, alcohol, or your phone. Maybe one, maybe all 3, maybe something else. Number 4, your mental health matters at least as much as your physical health. Number 5, you need to move more daily. Number 6, no one can make these things a priority if you won't make them a priority for yourself. Number 7, what you do is hard and you deserve to have more rest. Number 8, Botox and online shopping are not real self-care. Number 9, stress is toxic and we need to actively counterbalance it with things that help to detoxify. Right? Whether that's something simple like a meditation practice, whether that is, those, what do they call them? Sensory deprivation tanks, right? When we were in Japan, I got to go to the naked spa there, right? And just lie in various temperatures of water. That was pretty nice and relaxing. We need to counteract the stressors that we face, right? And we need to really be mindful of the stress in and stress out of the system. And number 10, you were never meant to do this all alone. All right, my friends, what else would you add to the list? I'm curious. If you think of something else that I missed, send me a message. You can reach me at Megan, Megan, at healthierforgood.com. I'd love to hear from you. Until next week, take care. Well, that's our show for today. Thank you as always for listening. To learn more about my coaching programs, head to www.healthierforgood.com. And if you love this podcast, please drop us a review on iTunes or support the show by clicking the link in the show notes. Until next time, take care.